knot tying can be used as meditation.
I'm sure it can be. I think anything like that's,
Yeah. I don't want to get into like macrame and shit, but
Yeah, next time I come over, you're going to have like one of those macrame swings in your house.
Yeah, a macrame dream catcher.
You're like, hey, I did this macrame and then I went and played bingo. I'm like, it's time for a different podcast.
Whoa. Yes, it did.
You want to do a quick 10 seconds for Harambe?
Let's do it.
All right.
Ticked off. An evil force took his life. An unearthly power has brought him back. He is a phantom, a wraith, a cosmic spirit given another chance.
Are you new in town?
Yeah. Who's the kid?
I turned my back, and the next second he was there. Like magic, almost.
You ever seen one of those before? Nah, let's just add it to our collection. Grab the shotgun, Mama Luca.
There's a kid out there using his car to kill people. Not that it's such a big deal, since it seems to be your gang he's got it in for.
A wraith, man! A ghost! An evil spirit, and it ain't cool!
The Wraith. If you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear.
Quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning. It's for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, Quaid, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. I'm Dan.
I am the Brockmeister.
And this is that show where we pick up that little piece of pop culture that you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. And we've got a little Halloween special going on this month. What movie are we going to do this night, my friend?
Well, for everybody that listened to the Quickcast this week, if you got my answer or the answer to my question, what movie was the inspiration or the crow was completely ripped off of, it's called The Wraith.
And I'm going to disagree with that a little bit. But when you texted me, it was The Crow with Cars with the Transformers 1986 soundtrack. I was like, yep, because one, Lion is on this soundtrack, which was the big band from the Transformers movie. And this movie also came out the same year, right?
I think so.
86?
Yeah. Oh, completely bitching, man. Completely bitching. Like, the soundtrack was rocking, right? I mean, it had Smoking in the Boys' Room.
Little Motley Crue.
Right. This was the Crow for the 80s. That's all I got to say.
With a happier ending.
It was like Draven lived.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
But I think what's also crazy about this movie is you have two people who are the sons of prolific actors and directors. You have Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes. So both of their fathers were prolific in their field, and then you also have two brothers who were lesser known, that being Clint Howard and Randy Quaid.
Which Clint Howard in this was pretty freaking cool. I think, if I was a director in the 80s, I probably would have hired Clint Howard for anything. You know what I mean? He just seems like...
Especially for any role where I have a guy named Rughead.
Right. Right. It's just something totally weird. You have him, you know? I mean, and his glasses were all like crazy. I don't know. It was a really low key role for him compared. You know?
Absolutely.
But it was really freaking cool. I loved him in this because he was like a ripoff of Eraserhead.
100%. Well, that was actually like homage to Eraserhead.
Yeah. and you know the main guy, right? Packard. Nick Cassavetes.
Yeah.
Or Cassavetes, or
whatever.
however you say his name.
Matter.
I recognized him and I was like, I know this dude from somewhere. Face Off.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? And I didn't realize that until, you know, it was until I researched it and I was like, that is him. That was Home Dude's like best friend partner, not his brother.
Right.
You know? But it was like his best friend that like got shot in the neck and shit. I was like, oh my God, that's him. And yeah. But I mean, this movie is so weird and there's a lot of weird things about it, but it is a unusual revenge story, you know, in the way that it's a supernatural revenge. You think it's aliens at first, but it's not. And they're like, dudes are like road pirates and shit. So you have a really big mix of genres or ideas, right?
Absolutely.
With no clear explanation at all.
Okay. And had you seen this movie before, Brock?
Never. This was my first time that I watched it 4 times this week. I mean, like I dove in.
You know what? As you should.
The first time I watched it, I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. And then the second time, you know, because I was watching it, I was just putting it on repeat so I could watch it and catch parts that I didn't catch the first time because I was in my office, you know, working at the same time. And God, there was just, I mean, there's a lot of things in this. I just don't even know where to start because I'd never seen it before. I don't have any other frame of reference except for seeing the cast pop up, and I was like, "What? Charlie Sheen? What?"
I've seen this movie a few times when I was younger. It was one of the ones that I like when it was on. I would watch it. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, there's like a lot of not necessarily tropes in this.
Kind of. There's kind of a
things
lot
that
of pieces.
Became tropes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say not only that, but there are things where you're like, oh, that's kind of from this movie, you know? It's kind of from that movie, like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind beginning with the lights coming down, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see.
But then you have everything hitting at a crossroads.
Right.
Right? So it's like a supernatural thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, you know, the kind of the Mad Max style, you know, of filming.
Well, and we'll get into the story and some of those here in a minute, but let's start with, first of all, the budget for this was $2.7 million. Not bad in 86. That was all right.
But it shows.
Yes. And it made $3.5 million.
Hey, well, respectable. I guess.
It made some money.
Yeah, for a Roger Corman flick.
So this was... Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say this was directed by Mike Marvin. He's produced some other movies, but I think this may be the only movie he directed. I could be wrong on that. Didn't really look deep into Mike Marvin's past.
He did a movie called Wishman.
Cool.
He's been working, but
he does a lot of production stuff, correct? Am I right?
Yeah, executive producer.
Yeah. And he wrote this movie as well. So that's pretty awesome. Go Mike Marvin.
Oh, you know what? He directed a. Oh shit! This is the end all of end alls right here.
Okay.
This is why I should know this guy, because he directed Hamburger the Motion Picture.
Oh well.
Same year.
You know what? Legend. Never mind. My bad.
No shit, man. Damn. That is amazing. And that in his Renegade credit, so, you know. But Hamburger the Motion Picture, Jesus, how did that slip my sight?
That slipped my sight as well. But I think kind of getting into the cast, obviously the main protagonist, anti-hero, if you will, is Charlie Sheen.
Which, this was basically a one-day shoot for him.
Yeah.
He was only in the movie a total of, 30 minutes?
Wasn't he on his way to like Italy or something to shoot a movie and stopped and filmed this? I'm pretty sure that's correct. He was on his way somewhere
Platoon.
else. Might have been.
Yeah, he was on his way to film Platoon, and you know there's two Platoon connections in this too, because Sherilyn Fenn, which she plays the other, kind of like the love interest in this, right?
Yeah.
She was dating Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he was on the set a lot. You know, like living in her trailer or apartment or whatever she had. I do remember reading that. What a powerful group of people to be around. Charlie Sheen, Johnny Depp, Sherilyn Fenn,
Randy Quaid. Come on,
dude. This whole group of people, really, if you think about it, like even Nick Cassavetes, again, he grew up. He was in that light. You know what I mean? That he was part of the culture of film.
Right. You know, being yeah.
Even though in this, I feel like he's a poor man's Patrick Swayze in this a lot, but a bad guy.
Oh, he's got no fucking fear, man.
None. He has no emotion other than greed.
He spits in the devil's twat. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He's like, fuck you.
And Nick Cassavetes, of course, he was the main antagonist, Packard Walsh.
Walsh,
yes. And then we had Randy Quaid, as you mentioned. He's the sheriff, Sheriff Loomis. I wonder if he's any related to the Halloween Loomis.
Maybe. Or the Quick Change Loomis.
Yeah, there you
him
go.
And Gina Davis.
Could be.
Well, yeah. I mean, he played a pretty straight up good old boy cop, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
In Arizona.
On the Arizona-Nevada line.
Which is kind of weird, you know? And he was... I mean, he didn't really overdo anything, and, you know, I mean, he had some good lines in it. I mean, that's one thing that, that the script had was some pretty decent one-liners, you know?
Absolutely.
Some really funny things that he said, and what the other character said, you're just like, damn. Yeah,
I think for me, like, as far as like the conversations, that I enjoyed the most were Skank and Gutter Boy.
Yes.
Just because they're crazy. I don't know what he was always drinking, but
hydraulic fuel, brake fluid. What else? It was mainly like brake fluid at first because it was in the little can, you know.
Right.
And then he had hydraulic fuel, which was in the pink bottle.
Right.
And then he even snorted, what was it, like WD-40 through his nose.
This guy was a machine.
Oh man, his brain was fucked, you know?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, how do you live after at least a week of that shit? You don't.
No.
But the dude, I mean, he looked strung out a couple of times. I mean, their characters, the gang, especially those two, David Sherrill as Skank and then Jamie Boyson as Gutter Boy, they really did kind of dive into those characters in a cool way because they totally came up with these really, I don't know, advanced for this movie. You know
for
what
sure.
I mean? Nick Cassavetes wasn't like he was not really a fleshed out character. You didn't really give a shit about him. But then these two dudes, they had so much screen time, but they had so much, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, it was just, they were probably got to be the best part of the whole movie. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Just because they were just, they really, it seemed like they really were having fun with it. And like, I'm going to do my own shit. I'm going to knock him lower than Will. Shit. What?
But nobody crossed Packard. Packard was a badass, He didn't care. He would kill you. He'd already killed somebody, as we find out,
Uh-huh. And, yeah, you really had just all these just unusual... It was very quick. They didn't really dive too deep into the story until a little bit ways into it, and it just seemed like they were in this really small town.
Yeah.
And everybody knew each other. There was like a population of 6,000 in this place. And these dudes were road pirates. They were assholes. And, yeah, it's just... Again, it was just kind of like, let's grab everything that was really cool at the time, squish it all onto this page, and then we'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's just start shooting. This will be cool.
It'll be fine.
The car was badass, though. Gotta say, the prototype car.
Oh, absolutely.
That car cost more than the freaking movie made.
100%. And they had. I think, what was it? Was it 2 of the actual car? And then they had like 4 of them that were on
Dune buggy chassis.
Chassis for the wrecks and whatnot. Because that car takes a lot of damage. And then comes right on back.
I guess they call it it is a Dodge
M4S Turbo Interceptor, which they almost called the movie Turbo Interceptor.
Yeah, and then it's got the Chrysler emblem on the front. I was like, damn. I mean, is this a souped up town and country? What the hell? And it did cost $1.1 million, but it would do 194 miles an hour. I mean, cool looking. The paint job was awesome. It was like a purple / copper, which is just, was kind of nuts. And, it reminded me of the NSXs or whatnot.
Acuras?
What were those? Yeah, the Acuras.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had that. Because this one just like completely sloped from the front all the way to the back and didn't have any kind of brakes in it, So it was just like, that was the star of the show, honestly.
Absolutely.
The car was just pretty bitchin',
And there were a lot of cool cars in this movie, actually. Like if you're a car guy,
Home dude, Packard had a Corvette. They had that little Datsun, it was obviously faster than the Corvette, which is weird. And then, they had the Hemi, the original Hemi Cuda.
There were a couple Dodge Daytonas in this movie.
Right.
Which was weird. But those were popular cars in 1986, I suppose.
Yeah. And plus all the police cars were Dodge, too.
Yeah, but they were like Dodge Diplomats or something, you know what I mean? Like Randy Quaid's car is just a car.
Yeah.
And then he'll put his thing on the top, and he's the sheriff? I'm like, what? You don't have a sheriff car? You just got a white car that you throw the light on when you're ready? Okay.
Yeah. Chrysler and Big Red had a field day with this, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Might as well face it, Dodge is addicted to this movie.
This was a Dodge commercial. It's like those BMW movies we covered, remember?
Yeah. The transporters.
But like you said, we did get a pretty rockin' soundtrack with it. Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, Lion. How could you go wrong with Lion? They had a couple songs on this album.
You really can't.
No.
Tim Freehan, Stan Bush. Stan Bush was the guy that did the whatever it was, Transformers music. He did a lot of that.
Yeah, him and Lion both.
Yeah, Robert Palmer, Nick Gilder, Honeymoon Suite. What? Bonnie Tyler.
I know you got some Billy Idol somewhere. You got a little Rebel Yell in there at some point.
Yeah.
I remember that.
James House. I like Ozzy Osbourne's song though, "Secret Loser." That's pretty rad.
Pretty rad.
So let's get into this movie.
Fair enough.
Let's get rocking with the Wraith.
Let's get straight into the Wraith.
So how does it start out?
Starts out with those. So we see, which is awesome because at the beginning we see the shooting stars, and they all make noise like whoo, whoo, because space and science. And then we see the I think it was like 4 spheres of light, and they're like it's almost like they're racing each other through the whatever down the road and through the canyon and all that. And then what happens, Brock? They run into each other.
Converge. Yeah, they converge at the crossroads and create this freaking badass car that revs its engine all by itself, and some dude that looks like a slash between Mad Max and Matt Damon from that movie where you had the Elysium.
Yes.
And he's got a helmet on.
He does.
So you don't really even know what the hell's going on.
You're like, what's going on right here?
Then we get the scene of
the couple in the Dodge Daytona.
The couple are kind of just cruising, you know, they're loving life, and they're like, yeah, you know, about to go make out, you know, do whatever. And all of a sudden these, 3 or 4 vehicles come up behind them, and they're like, oh my God. So the dude stops them, right?
Well, there's a whole bunch of cars in front of him too, and he has to stop because they're like across the road. Yeah. And
he's like, what do you want? And he's like, we want something pink. And the girl's like, ah. He's all, not that, you know.
I don't think he ever says not that. He just alludes to it, and then he's like, starts talking about the pink slip.
Yes. So apparently he's going to race, you know, this dude in his Dodge Daytona versus a Corvette.
But that Daytona, it holds its own, and he has to run it off the road in a Corvette, which is made of fiberglass. I don't know if that tracks.
But what's really confusing to me, too, is whenever they do race, they'll drive these cars around all day long. But as soon as they start racing, they got to put on a helmet. What the fuck is that?
Well, now they're going fast.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they're going faster than they were during the day. You know? So, yeah, they have like some little turnaround spot, and he whistles at him after he runs him into the guardrail and everything, tries to kill him, and he points to go back because they got his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Like, we got it.
Skank has his girlfriend. He's like licking on her face and stuff. Weird.
Oh, yeah. It's fucking weird, right? So, and then he's like, you're a bunch of road pirates. And the dude's like, you better walk away while you got your lips.
And he flips out his switchblade.
Yeah.
Which is going to happen a lot in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, he has that stone cold, like, deadpan, nothing affects him. He's like fucking badass. Right. Even though he almost lost, right?
Right. But he does make the comment to Rughead that, like, you know, the competition's a little more equal now, and that's not okay, you know?
Yeah, when are you going to have that new motor running or some shit like that?
Right.
So don't worry. And that's Clint Howard, you know, and he's like, oh, yeah, it should be done by tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool. So you get that weird these guys are out there just stealing people's cars because they're just working on the honor system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, would you not go to the police and be like, so this guy forced me to race him, almost killed me, and now he has my car?
Yes. Yeah, it's not legal because he forced me to do it. He almost killed me. Can I please get my car back? But no, nobody does a fucking thing about it. You know?
Right.
Obviously, they're the only gang in town. You know, and a gang in 1986 is kind of weird anyway.
Well, especially a gang of, you know, highway pirates.
Yeah, and the apocalypse hasn't even happened yet.
Exactly.
So then the next scene is kind of it's weird too because it opens up. It's daytime, right? And we see a lone dirt bike kind of riding down the road, right?
Yeah, and of the perspective as if it's riding at us for a long time.
For a very long time, like a dramatically long time. And who is it? It's freaking Charlie Sheen, right? With no shirt on and a jean jacket.
As you do in 1986, apparently.
Exactly. Like there's one road through town or some shit, right? And Sherilyn Fenn, she's coming out of her house, I guess, or her mom's house, her parents, something. She's got to be really young. They don't even talk about school, but she's got to be like 19 or 20 or something, right? So she's coming out, and he pulls up, and he's like, hey, she's like, you're not from around here. No, where's the cofferdam? Oh, it's this way. Here, I'll show you. I'm going that way or something like that, right? Home dude pulls up, the guy that just...
Packard.
Yeah, Packard in his Corvette. He's like, hey, what are you doing? She acts all like weird and shit like that too. And she gets into the car and he's like, why are you bumming a ride from that nerd? Or some shit like that, right? And she's like, well, he's new in town. He's like, I don't care. You don't get a ride from anybody. Riding on the back of a motorcycle get you killed. She's like, what? Nothing. Like he totally is like, nothing. No. You didn't hear me say that. So they end up at the dam, right? And Charlie Sheen's out there sunbathing. Sherilyn Fenn and Home Dude, you know, they both get out there. Home Dude just takes off his shirt, but he's still got his jeans on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's too cool
like he's
for
too
school.
Cool, yeah, to even freaking tan, right? You know? He's like, I ain't gonna get wet. Fuck, what if I got a race? You know? So Charlie Sheen's like all hanging out, staring at Sherilyn Fenn, right, while she's putting on the lotion. Then this dude comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, mind if I put my towel down here? At first, yeah, Charlie Sheen, he says nothing to the guy. He's like, hey, must be new around here, and doesn't say a fucking word to him, right?
Right.
And then he's like, mind if I put my towel down? He's like, it's a free country, you know? So you're like, oh, okay. So he sits down. He kind of gets the smooth on Sherilyn Fenn and, you know, Packard and how they shouldn't be messing around, right? Because he could get killed. And then he's like, oh, my brother used to date her. We're pretty good friends. And then he's like, oh, well, the only person that can look at her is your brother. And he's like, he's dead. Oh. He's like, I'm sorry,
bro.
Yeah, sorry, bro. He uses bro a lot, too.
He does.
So he's like, don't worry, man, but just don't get caught. You know, you got to have sunglasses to look at her. You know, can't even look at her sideways. And then this is where we get the introduction of Skank and whatever his name is, Rotten Boy or
Gutter Boy.
Mumble Mouth. Gutter Boy, yeah. They pull up in the whatever you call it, the Hemi, which is all decked out with like, it looks like a bomber, like a fighter jet, which is pretty cool, right?
Right.
And he takes a drink of the brake fluid, and he's like, ugh, like all messed up in the face. He's like, this is some strong stuff, man. This stuff's got a kick. That's his thing throughout the whole deal, too. So they honk the horn, I guess. And Packard runs over to the car. He gets in, and he's like, hey, do you guys know that guy? And they're like, no. He looks like a nerd. He's just dumb. And Home Dude's in the back. Gutter Boy's is like, yeah, you know, he looks pretty stupid. You know, and he's like, see that motorbike? If you ever see him on that, keep an eye out because I want to see him. But that's after he looks at Charlie Sheen and he has this weird flashback.
Yeah, so this is where we first get a little deeper into what's going on here. And it's and noticeably, when we see Charlie Sheen laying out, he's got these scars across his back.
Right.
And then you see Packard looking at him, and he's like flashing back to him coming in, and was her name Carrie?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, she's all naked underneath a dude, and he comes in and kills this dude, like cuts him across the back a couple times and then stabs him. Yeah. While the other guys are holding her down, right? And like covering her face.
Yeah, with like a blanket or something. Yeah. You know? So she doesn't know. She can't see him. God knows where they're at, right?
Right. Some little shanty.
Yeah, somewhere weird. And, you know, then you see Packard stab him in the back. And
right.
You're like, God damn. It's pretty savage. And, you know, they kind of, it is just like a Crow flashback, you know. They're only giving you pieces of it the whole time.
Right.
You know, they're not showing you the whole thing all the way through. They kind of give you a couple of little pieces. You get to see the death pretty early on.
And you have names like Skank and Gutter Boy. You know, that kind of fits into that Crow thing as well.
Right, and it's all really dark, and the flashbacks are shot in a really weird way, you know?
Yeah.
Just like the Crow, honestly. And it was like, oh, shit, this is the fucking Crow, you know? It's exactly what I thought as soon as I saw that. I was like, all right. Okay.
I do want to, we digress just a little bit because we mentioned the brother of the kid who died. Billy, that dude is like a prolific casting director. Like he's done, like he did The Notebook, Freddy vs. Jason, I think one or two of the Friday movies, Rush Hours, Shanghai Noon, Mars Attacks. You know what I mean? Like casting director for all those movies. It's a litany of movies that he's done casting directing for.
Jeez.
Which is pretty cool.
I know.
Because you haven't really seen him in anything else. You know, he's got that very familiar looking face though.
Right. Freddy vs. Jason, Friday After Next, How High, Rush Hour 2, Tomcats. Jeez. He's done a lot of shit. Yeah. So, started in the 90s. Yeah.
So just digress a little bit because I think we skipped over him when we were talking about the cast.
Yeah, and I think he was in Con Air too. He was one of the Benson, Carlson, Popovich. He's one of the dudes that gets shot or some shit like that.
Ah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think that was him, no. You know who that dude was? That was Guttermouth or Gutter Boy.
Okay.
He was like Benson or something like that from that. But no. So yeah, where are we at in the movie? It's where, you know, he's kind of clocking him, you know, and then all of a sudden Sherilyn Finn's like floating down the cofferdam, right?
Right.
And he pulls up, and it's like they get their towels and all their shit from the same place. Like where was home dude carrying all this shit? You know what I mean? Charlie Sheen? He just pulls up in a freaking, you know, a duster bike, you know? It's weird. But yet he's got a freaking pool floaty, you know? He's got a towel. He's got everything that he needs, you know? It's all right there. So yeah, it's still very mysterious. And he pulls up next to her, you know, on his own little raft and everything. Then home dude's like, hey, we need to go, you know?
And she tells him to stop by her work. And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, I don't know where you work. And of course, she works at the same place that Billy does. The Big K's Burgers.
I thought they were saying Burger King. Like I thought that's what they meant, like BK,
Oh.
BK burgers.
No, well, maybe there's an alliteration there. I don't know.
So that's when we get the Robert Palmer whole like might as well face it. Is that the song? No.
Addicted to Love,
It's
yeah.
the other one. Yeah. And like they show, the waitresses and their skates and everything, and everybody getting burgers and stealing shit off of trays, and everybody's so cool. And the dude's working, the grill. He's like the only one. She says something like, "Hey, I need this cowboy out here wants 2 rare burgers," and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll make sure they're something so rare that you could like they'll get up and walk away or something." And then he throws them behind his back. You're like, gross. and then of course, I guess the shift is over. I don't know what's going on at that point, right? So she's coming out. Home dude's got that little Triumph car, right? And he's like, "Hey, I'll give you a ride home." She's like, "All right, cool," because they're good friends, because his brother and everything.
Right.
And of course they show up, and they're like, "What are you doing getting in the car? Get out of there!" And home dude's like, "Hey, man, what the hell? There's nothing wrong. We're just friends." You know what I mean? Like, she don't ride with nobody.
How much is this Triumph worth?
Oh, I don't know.
No, that's what he says to
Oh yeah.
to Clint Howard's character. He's like, "How much do you think this Triumph's worth?" He's like, "You're not
Clint
taking
Howard.
my car."
Yeah, you're not taking it because it doesn't run anyway. You can hardly get it started.
I know, right?
That's but that's when we first get to see the Wraith car, the Turbo Interceptor. It's like zoom zoom, right?
And that catches their attention.
They're like, "Holy crap, that's like a cool deal,"
And he's like, "What is that?" "I don't know."
I don't know, but let's add it to our collection.
Right.
And of course, one of the other guys is like, "Hey man, let me take this guy. I want to win something sometime," or something like that, right?
That's Augie. Yeah, Augie's the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to kick your ass Augie style.
And he never talks to him. You can't see inside the windows or anything, so he just like revs his engine to like say yes.
Right, he's like, "Vroom, vroom." I'm like, okay. And then, of course, Clint Howard's like, "All right, let's go." He's always the guy that's, pulling the starting the race and shit like that. So home dude and him, of course, the other guy's got to put on his helmet and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
What kind of car does he have too? It's like a
I don't remember offhand which one he drove.
yeah, I forgot what it was, but
Probably another Daytona.
So they're driving, they're doing that Mad Max kind of interceptor, really fast on the road type shit. You know what I mean? And he dusts Augie, right? Like completely. The Turbo Interceptor is like out of reach. Home dude just floors it because he's thinking he's going to catch up with him, right?
Yeah, he's not even out of reach. He's out of vision.
Yeah, you can't. He's nowhere. And then all of a sudden, he shows up, and home dude runs straight into the car. Boom! He goes over this.
He's like parked
that.
sideways in the road, at the end there. So the guy, like, as he's accelerating to try to catch up, he actually just hits the car and explodes.
Right. And the car explodes. Everything explodes, right? So right after that, Loomis shows up with all the other people, and home dude's one of the cops. Oh my God, the line is like fucking awesome, dude. Whenever the cops are like, "Is that one of the locals?" And he's like, "Used to be." That cop is like, again, hell of a line. You know what I mean?
He has
like,
really
really cool.
Yeah, he has some cool lines within the movie, actually.
Yeah, I know. There's another one. What is it? What is it? Oh, I don't even remember. Yeah, it was something weird, about something just weird about how he's like, I ain't never seen nothing like this, and make cats crawl up my spine or some shit like that.
Well, and this is where we see the piece, like that piece comes off his like armor or whatever. It's like a.
He's standing up on top of the rocks, right, watching. Nobody can see him. All the cops are there. People are crying and shit. And you see him at the very top, and then like one of his braces come off.
Yeah, it seems like he has 4 braces, like one on each extremity, like 2 for the legs, 2 for the arms. One of them came off, and then it disappears, and that car kind of reforms. Weird, and and there's no explanation on why he's got the goddamn anything. No,
you know what I mean?
There's nothing. You get no explanation. But as it progresses, because then he starts kind of and just going through this gang, racing them. And then the next one that he races, I don't remember what his name was.
Billy. No. But yeah. Because they're all freaking out because the next thing that happens, before the other dude bites it, right, is they show the whole pirates at their pirate hangout, right? Which is in like this really awesome warehouse full of like fucking everything, right?
Out in the middle of nowhere.
They got a whole awesome shop, yeah, and it's all on top of a hill. They're working on stuff like jamming and passing cigarettes around and shit like that, and the door opens up, right? And it's the Wraith, right? With a shotgun. What? Right. So he actually shows up to destroy everybody at this one point. But everybody's like, what the hell? Except for Packard, right?
Right.
He's just standing there like this dude's like his best friend. It's like, what are you doing, man? Jeez. Like, he doesn't even flinch when they shoot. Nothing. He's just like staring the dude down the whole freaking time, which is so. I mean, that's like, how do you? That's like beyond alpha male. It's like he's blind or something. You know what I mean?
It's definitely unsettling. The dude's got some nerve. You got to give him that.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing, man? This whole place is full of like ether and gasoline and stuff. And everybody's like running and flipping out because, he just got done checking out the new motor with the blower on it and everything like that, right? He's like, yeah, this is going to be pretty awesome, man. And he just pops in with that freaking futuristic shotgun, the riot shotgun, right?
Yeah.
And he just starts freaking blowing everything away. And he goes up to Packard, and Packard's like, what are you going to do? And he just, like, doesn't do anything.
Nope.
He could totally, like, end everything right there, but I guess he wants to draw it out so he can, humiliate him.
I think he wants Packard to fear. He wants his fear, you know what I mean? He wants him to have some emotion, I think that's what it is anyways. He wants him to... Give him that, Yeah,
but that's the weird part because he has no fucking emotion. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is so. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know if they were like, dude, you're so badass that a dude shooting a shotgun in your shop and destroying everything that you have it doesn't affect you. You know what I mean? And then, it's the next day and she's working. He comes, don't they go back up to the burger joint, right? He comes up there and Loomis, the cop, is eating his own burger, right?
Yeah, he's throwing the pickles out the window. Randy Quaid, gotta love it.
What the hell is this shit? You know what I mean? So he's radioing the other cops and he's like, hey, I'm watching them, keeping an eye out on these guys because one of their buddies died. They're all, some of them were crying and Packard was like, what are you going to do? Arrest me for breathing?
Well, he even says like Augie wasn't a loss, so he has no care for these people whatsoever. All he cares about is getting more cars and making sure that his girl ain't which she even has that. They have that conversation in the car, and I don't know if we're there yet, where he's like, if you can't be with anybody else, you know, like basically he flips out his knife at her.
And puts it in his own hand and like squeezes it. Yeah, that's after, because she's crying that the home dude died. Augie died, right? She's like, Augie's dead. I can't believe it. And she's like, I never slept with you. I'm never gonna sleep with you. I'm never gonna love you. And he's like, you know what? I don't give a shit. You know,
weird,
because you will one of these days.
What?
Goddamn, what? Right? That's kind of fucking weird. You know what I mean? And so he even pulls the knife out where there's no blood on it, right? But there's blood dripping from his hand, you know? Which I thought that was kind of weird. And he even touches her lip with his, like, here, lick this. You know what I mean?
There's plenty of blood that drips out of his hand once he raises it up. Because he actually lifts his hand off the knife. Then there's plenty of blood. Because he gets a little on her lip, too, yeah, like you said. And
what...
Go ahead.
What we do get to see is like the Augie's eyes. Like he went through a fiery crash, but his whole body was intact, right? Mm-hmm. But his eyeballs were gone.
Absolutely,
like hollowed out. And
they even make it like a comment that it was almost like somebody scrubbed the body down. You know, like it's that
right.
It's that clean from after going through an explosion where they had just said like it must have been 1,000 degrees in there.
Yeah. The other cop says the kid smashed down a canyon through fire and busting glass, and then Loomis is like, must have been 1,000 degrees in that car. And at least. Where's his eyes? Sent cats climbing up my spine when I saw him hauling this corpse out of that canyon, clean as if he'd come out of a hot tub. I'm worried, Loomis.
That's what he said.
Right.
That's what he said.
Verbatim. That was a quote.
Quote.
So they're at the burger joint, right? And they all kind of pull up, and home dude gets back into his. He's like, "Guess what, babe? You better be here later tonight when you get off, because I'm gonna be here, and you'll be sorry," or something like that, right?
Right. Because he's a great boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly, right. But then he gets in, and there's a note taped to the steering wheel. And it's like, meet me at Lookout Mountain. Holy shit. You know what? Where else Lookout Mountain was? And freaking Transformers.
That's true.
He's like,
tying it all together.
We can see the ship arriving from Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain.
So they're like, he's at Lookout Mountain. We found him, guys, because he even asked Skank and Gutter Boy, you know, like, did you find him? We looked everywhere. Because Packard's like, so where is he? Tuna can? Like, he's talking to Skank. He's like, dude, we couldn't find the slide ball anywhere. Yeah, we went across town, down to Crawford's Gully. We stopped for a box of goobers. You guys are pissing me off. I want that guy, right? And then he's like, yeah, Minnie's like, yeah, this freak's into us for about $1,300, right? We spent all last night banging on the two bodies. I got scabs on my knuckles and everything like that. And he said, it's your damn job, Gutter Boy. Mm-hmm. Right? Rughead, what's he got with us? What's he got is his ass full of trouble. Skank goes, yeah, it's about time we got into somebody's ass, huh, guys? What the shit? Gutter Boy says, yeah, we beat him like a redheaded
stepchild.
Yeah, we'll beat him like a redheaded stepchild. I'm going to knock his ass lower than whale shit. What the fuck?
Definitely some odd lines in this one, too.
Yeah, that was just really funny. He's like, we went down to Crawford's Gully. We stopped for a box of goobers. I was like, where the fuck did that come from, right?
So is this where he races the second guy?
Yes.
And that's when
the other guy.
They try to put that radio whatever killer on there.
Yeah, because they introduced that a little bit earlier in the shop, you know, when right before the Wraith came in and blew everything up. And he's like, now we got one of these radio silencers or something like that, right?
So basically what it'll do is it'll shut down the car, right?
Right.
from a
if
radio
he tries to
transmitter.
run,
Right.
yeah, they'll shut down the car.
But it's awesome when they go to race him and he opens up they're like, you got to pop the hood. We got to put this on there. And again, they've never seen him yet. He doesn't talk. It just hydraulically lifts. And there's like a magic engine in there.
Yeah. It's like a badass Harry Potter engine, right?
And Rughead's like And that's when the cops come. Because they've been staking it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're off like freaking, they're running from Master Blaster and shit. They're going freaking full speed down every turn and everything like that, right?
Was that guy Minty? Was that his name?
Yeah, that was Minty. Yeah.
He's the one that had the blower on his car that, like, the butterflies never move.
Right, yeah. Nothing happens, And of course, the Wraith gets away from him again, and all of a sudden he looks up and boom, he blows up in that car too, right? So he completely fiery crashed that dude too.
And then another little piece of his, I don't know what those are. Those little pieces.
Well, it was like his leg brace,
They're like braces, legs. Yeah, like they're like he's Forrest Gump.
Yeah. He had a piece of his magic leg. And that was in the wreckage, but it disappeared, right?
Right.
So again, the cops kind of catch up a little bit too, don't they? Mm-hmm. And they're following the Wraith car, right? And he gets to like a freaking roadblock or some shit, right? And then the Wraith freaking blows right through it, right? Completely, like you can even see the cops after the other cars that are intact after he blows through those dudes, right? They're like, oh, well, shit.
Well, and aren't they still following him? And when he goes over the hill, it turns into those lights again that came down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a weird deal. Like he disappears into the sky. He's the spirit in the sky there. And even Randy Quaid's like, what the crap? Yeah. They're all like, this is like supernatural. He gets it immediately.
Yeah. Randy Quaid picks it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
What's going on?
But, and I think we did miss the part where he goes to talk to Skank and Gutter Boy at the whatever you call it, at the
airplane junkyard or whatever it is.
Yeah, to go intimidate him, to give him answers. I'm like, we don't know who this dude is,
But the best part of that is that we get more Skank and Gutter Boy.
Yeah, yeah, freaking hydraulic fuel at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and he's then like, old Mumble Mouth.
Got a kick. Yeah. What? And even the dude's dad, I guess it was Skank's dad,
right?
Because Gutter Boy was his friend, and Skank's dad was chewing tobacco while he was chewing on a cigar.
Yeah, yeah, that's hardcore right there.
Yeah, no shit.
All the back I can get.
Yeah, Randy Quaid's like, you know what? I ain't taking no shit from you guys, right? So, of course, after this, because he disappears and Randy Quaid's just like, holy shit, you can't stop this fucking dude. Like, this is not happening, right?
Right.
So
this is the part where he comes into their garage, their hideout, right? And just rams his car through it.
Well, that's before, or that's after Loomis comes to get him, right? So Packard.
Oh, right, right, yeah.
Yeah, he
had some other girl in his place, right?
Yeah, wooing some girl, and it's like really weird and odd because he's like, "You okay, miss?" He's like, "I got here a warrant for you," and Home Dude's just like, "Whatever, let's go. I'll meet you out in the car." You know what I mean? This is just kind of fucking weird too. Just a weird interaction. And he takes him downtown, and he's like, this guy's targeting you guys. And it's really hot in there. You can see them all sweating and freaking out, right? Like, we don't know who the dude is. We have no clue. And so, later that night, Skank and Gutter Boy are driving, and they see Charlie Sheen, right? Because he picks up Sherilyn Finn at that point. He's like, hey, come on, get on. Let's go for a ride.
I love that because she's coming out of that place and he just appears with the bike and she's like, you're so quiet. That bike's so quiet.
Yeah, it's like really quiet because she was waiting, I guess, for Home Dude. And Home Dude's across the street crying his eyes out, you know. You notice he was crying in those couple of times?
I did not.
They showed him sitting in his car smoking a cigarette, and his eyes were all welled up and red and shit. I was like, what the? Dude's crying over this girl? What is that? You know?
Well, that's where he puts all his emotions.
So you know, he tells, you know, of course he tells Skank and Gutter Boy that they need to be watching out for this dude, and they need to take him out, you know? And they're like, okay. So they see him ride by on the bike, right? And of course they go after him, and he's like, but that's his girl, you know. If we do this, if we hurt him, he's gonna hurt us. And he's like, I don't give a shit, that guy deserves it, right? So he tells him, he's like, get out the shotgun. He's like, but I don't want to get out the shotgun, I don't know how to use it. Yeah, so he's following really close behind him, and Home Dude like pulls out the shotgun. He's like, get the bullets. He's like, the bullets are right here. So he puts the bullets in it, and what does he do? He shoots the freaking steering out of the car after they get into this high-speed chase with the motorbike, right?
Right.
And they end up flipping the freaking thing, you know? They're on the ground, and Home Dude grabs a can of, like, WD-40, sticks it up his nose. And he's like, oh, that shit's got a kick. You know, I'm tweaking. You know what I mean?
Tweaking, that's what he says, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, man, we better not tell, you know, Home Dude because he's going to kill us. And he's like, you know what? Everybody's afraid of him. She ain't going to say nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, in that very next scene, they're walking, right? And they're like, what are you doing? Packard sees them and is like, hey, what are you doing? Walking. They're like, we had a little trouble with the Hemi. And he's like, okay, did you see anything? No, we didn't see homegirl on the back of the bike with he's like, shut up, dude. Of course he's giving it away, and that's where he's kind of like getting emotional again too,
right?
Because he sees Charlie Sheen drop her off and he gives her a kiss and shit like that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But that's after the dirty scene where they go out to the cofferdam again at night this time, and they go bump uglies, right?
She's quick to drop that top.
No shit, right? I mean, like, pretty fast. She's like, all right, you seem familiar.
Well, it's not Packard, so she's like...
Yeah, and this whole time we're getting those flashback scenes, you know?
Right.
We're getting those weird, like, her face is covered, Homegirl doesn't know, or Homegirl doesn't know who actually killed him. We find out that the guy's body was put into the trunk. She was found wrapped up in a blanket or something like that,
with some sort of trauma, some sort of head trauma, right?
Yeah,
because she doesn't remember anything.
Yeah, the shotgun plays into that because that's where he has the shotgun to destroy everything because they blow up the car with the shotgun, you know?
Right.
I guess Augie does, or Boogie Oogie. So, yeah, we get to see the next day because he's all pissed off. Home Dude's like, no, my God, my girlfriend's leaving me, right? And so the next day she's working. He comes up and just grabs her. Those are over his shoulder. Home Dude's brother runs out and is like, hey, you can't freaking do this. He ends up getting his ass beat in front of everybody. Dude's kicking, and he gets up and he's like, what were you guys doing?
You let him take her.
Yeah, you just let this happen. You know, this is weird.
And that was
right?
good, though. I that showed something of Billy, though, because, you know, that's the one thing I will say is Billy, even though, like, he got his ass kicked, at no point did he ever back down from Packard in this show, hardly at all, or in this movie, hardly at all. You know?
Right.
He stood his ground, even though he got his ass kicked. There's something to be said for that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, he's like, you know what? I can't let you do this. This is wrong. Everything's wrong. You know, we're friends. She loved my brother. Totally down for her, you know. Of course, they're going a little bit down the road, and who shows up? Turbo, right?
So this is after Skank and Gutter Boy get exploded, though.
That's right. Because Ron Howard's brother is like, guess what? I'm leaving. This is fucked up. We got a Wraith on us. I don't know what the hell we did wrong, but we don't need to be doing this. And Skank and
he's got like a briefcase.
Yeah,
he's leaving.
Like he's. I'm taking all my plans and I'm leaving.
Right.
This game was fun whenever we had an advantage, but now we don't. So I'm out. So he hops in his GMC and he's try. Basically it reminds me of the Unknown Stuntman's truck.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's going down the hill, and then all of a sudden the Wraith knocks him off of the road, pretty much, like veers him off. So he sees it going towards the garage, and of course Gutterbutt and and Skink are right there, and he runs in and explodes the whole fucking thing. Right, boom! Right. Even knocks little Ronnie Howard's brother back.
Yep.
Of course, Loomis shows up and is like, "What happened?" Oh man, it's crazy. Kind of tells him the whole deal.
Yeah, well,
right?
It's weird because he's like, even starts confessing about killing Jamie, the Billy's brother, to him, even though that's kind of unrelated at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was kind of strange that he made that. Maybe that transitioned in his mind at the same time while all this was going on, I guess. Wait, maybe this could be causing that, And
Rughead wasn't there whenever Jamie was killed, right?
No, he was just there helping get rid of the body.
Yeah, he gets off of this one. You know what I mean? But he knew about it.
Right.
So he figures everything out, just like Loomis does. Rughead basically tells him, everything that's going on, blah, blah, blah. You need to go home. Just wait for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Home dude's like, we got to stop him. He's like, you can't stop what can't be stopped.
Right. And this is the part, and I think I jumped earlier, because this is where he comes in and he sees Carrie kissing Sheen, right?
I think so.
I think so too.
Because he's crying again, and then he does. They get into the fight outside. Then he gets into the car, and then Turbo shows up, and he's like, "You need to get out. We need to race. I'm ending this right now." So they get into another badass race, right? But this time, at the end of it, Turbo is standing in the middle of the road, but you see this really quick flash, right?
And due to technical difficulties, if you heard that going in there, we have lost Brock for a moment, as we are uncommonly connected via internet rather than in person. So we'll just wait for this to maybe come back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. You're sounding really bad. There's some sort of poor connection going on.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to switch us to audio only. Will you talk, sir?
Yes. Here, let me hit my...
You sound like a transformer.
There you go. Transformers all beneath the eye. Autobots wage that battle to destroy the evil forces of the Connecticons.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You sound bad, brother.
Hold on. Better, worse, better.
It's the same. It's the same. You just sound like you're a robot underwater.
Here, I'll mute. Come back on.
Talk again?
How about now?
Nope.
Shit. fucking halitosis. Do you want me to call you again?
Yes. Let's end this.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up, and then I'll call you right back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Jello. Hello? Brock? I can't hear you. Mr. Brock?
I got you.
Hey, that sounds way better.
It said my connection is too weak. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm sitting right by my modem. And it's 11 o'clock at night. Well, this is high time for porn. So.
There you go. So just, we'll probably cut all this out, but so that put us right around the hour mark where that started happening.
Okay.
So let's rewind a little bit.
Okay, we should be at Packard's death, right?
Yeah, really close to that. Because this is where he gets out and he pulls the knife on her. You know, saying if she can't be with anybody else, blah 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 blah. And that's when the old Turbo shows up. Gives him a little rev.
He's like, we're going for it. Home dude's like, fuck it. You know what? You kill everybody else in my gang. You can kill me too.
Yeah, he's like ready.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm
he knows,
in.
Yeah. Payment's coming.
And it's a pretty good race for a moment, but I think it's almost like the Turbo is always kind of like just messing with him, and then can pull way ahead, you know.
Yeah, he could smoke him at any time.
And then
but he just
for this one specifically, he comes back. It's like a head-on collision.
Yeah,
not just stopped in the road.
In the middle of the road too.
Right.
Like that's the last thing that he sees is the dude, right? The actual Wraith, and then he does see the car, and it's like boom, completely destroys. Everything's gone, right? So of course at this point too, doesn't this is where Home Dude's like, you can't stop this dude.
Loomis,
you know?
you're talking about Randy Quaid's character?
Right.
Yeah, he's like, because they're like, well, we can go follow him up here, and there's no reason to. It's over.
Yeah.
They're all dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Which again is very reminiscent of Ernie Hudson's. Like, dude, you can't do nothing about this. You just got to let it go. You know, he doesn't join in or anything.
Right.
You know, but he's like, he gets it immediately. He's like, this is a fucking revenge thing. You know, he's picking off these guys one at a time.
Right.
He even asks if Sherilyn Finn remembers, you know, who killed him, everything like that. She's like, no, they found her, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Right.
So it's over. He's done. Because even at one point, Charlie Sheen says, you know, I don't have much time here. You know, I came here for you, you know. And that was before that he kind of ended everything.
Right.
So he comes back and he pulls up in the turbo car.
Well, and it's like, I don't know if she just walked home from wherever she would, like, they just left her. But like you said, she's coming home like right at that time. It's nighttime now. Right.
Like she'd been walking that whole time. She just getting back to her parents' place, right? She's still got like her skates around her shoulder, doesn't she? Like her work skates, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't remember that offhand, but that makes sense. And that's when the turbo pulls up.
Oh my God. and outsteps the Wraith, right? So the Wraith is like, all of a sudden, like, changes right before our very eyes, and bam, it's Charlie Sheen.
And what's he say? He's like, I can't do that again.
Yeah, he's like, can't do that too many more times or some shit like that, right? And she's like, okay. He's like, because she asked him earlier, she's like, who are you? And asked Packard. He knows who I am.
Right.
Because he does figure it out, you know. Everybody kind of figures it out at that point. And she still has it. And she's like, oh, my God, Jamie. Why do you look different? Well, this is as close as I could get to looking the way I did before. Did he have a choice?
I don't know, but she's like, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, actually, even better.
And then he tells her to, like, pack light, and he's got one last thing to do.
Yeah, because she even said, whenever he was beating up her guts, right, that she had a dream that she was going east with Jamie.
Right. But that doesn't make sense because Jamie's dead.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and she's like, this is weird. And then, yeah, she goes full regalia, takes off everything. And so she figures it out, and he's like, hey, listen, I got one more thing to do. She's like, don't leave me again. He's like, don't worry, I'm coming back. I just got this one last thing to do. So he goes up to the Big K Burgers, right?
Right.
And Home Dude's sweeping the floors, getting all the extra French fries and shit, right? And he walks in, and Home Dude is like, watch out, Packard.
And he's like, gonna swing the broom or whatever at him.
Yeah, he's about to brain him, right? He's like, fuck off, dude. And he's like, whoa. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, bro. Had a bad day. He's like, I can see that. So he's like, you know what? Yeah, I got something for you. And he's like, okay. He's like, what is it? Oh, it's a one of a kind. It's an interceptor. It's a one of a kind that does special things, right?
Right, and he hands him the keys.
Yeah. I mean, so he hands him the clicker, like the ooh button, right? And he's like, what is your name, bro? And he's like,
you already know.
Yeah, you just said it,
Yeah.
And he's like, what? He's like, you're speaking in riddles, man. So he goes outside, and of course, the fucking car is like brilliant, just right there, sitting under the neon lights and everything. He hops back on his little dirt bike, right? He starts to ride away. Home Dude's like,
and he starts yelling, Jake,
yeah,
and then Jamie.
At the very end, he's like, who are you? And then he's like, Jake, Jamie. Oh. Like, because, he doesn't want his brother to go, right?
Right.
He finally figured it out at the last second, right? He's like, God dang it. Right? So he goes to pick up Homegirl, and they ride off into the sunset.
And Randy Quaid is watching. I remember that. Like, he sees it all happen.
Yeah. He's like, Depp, you know what? I can't stop it. I'm not going to.
And then they
the
ride
town's a
off.
safer place. And
into the not sunset.
Yeah. End scene.
And Eric Draven lives.
Yes. Eric Draven is alive.
This movie is not near as dark as The Crow, obviously.
Oh, of course not. But you see the bones of it. If you look at the bones of this movie, it's somebody coming back for revenge, right?
From the dead.
And from the dead. But yet he coalesces into a car. Weird.
And he gets a much better deal because he gets to live.
Right.
In a body that he apparently picked out. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I'll take that Charlie Sheen dude's body. I'm like, okay.
No, not Charlie Sheen at 50. I don't need the HIV. But
yeah, the tiger blood one. I need the young one.
Right, the 1986 Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. And you know what, too? Because he was on his way to do Platoon, from what I read, and Oliver Stone went to go see this movie after it came out, and he was like, holy shit, this movie sucks. Everybody's going to think really bad about my movie because of this movie, right? So he's like totally freaking out.
Obviously, that wasn't the case.
No, it won Best Picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there was no, nothing lost there, you know?
Absolutely. So, being the first time that you watched this, were you glad you watched it?
Yes.
And what would you rate this movie?
2.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
Respectable, but it just, and mainly the only reason why I gave it that many stars is because Home Dude was like the ultimate badass, right?
Dude? Which Home Dude?
The Cassavetes.
Oh, okay. Packard Walsh, Nick Cassavetes.
Yeah, Packard was a badass. Oh, we forgot to talk about that, where he runs him into the graveyard, and the Wraith is standing right above his tombstone that says Packard Walsh.
That's right. I forgot about that as well. Yeah.
Home Dude comes up with the bag and the shotgun. He tries to shoot him, and it like does a fucking Yosemite Sam on him.
Yeah, he does.
It's like, what the hell?
I can't believe we forgot that part. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's like, what the hell is that thing? You know, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth a watch just because it exists and it has so many people that you know, that everybody knows, that it's definitely worth taking a look at just to see what it is, you know?
Yeah, I used to like this movie a lot as a kid. Like, I mean, there were cars, there were boobs, you know, so there was sci-fi, you know. Had everything I needed as a 12-year-old child. Still there, Brock? I think you're muted, brother.
How did that shit happen?
I don't know. The magic of the internet.
God.
Technology.
Even in the future, nothing works.
I would give this 3 out of 5 revs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's probably mostly for the nostalgia of it to me.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask.
I would say if I just probably watched it, 2.5 would be a good rating from me. You know?
Right. Well, you know what? I looked up whenever The Crow debuted.
Mm-hmm.
Came out in 1989.
The Crow?
Yeah, the
book,
actual
you mean?
James O'Barr, comic.
The comic. Yeah, that makes way more sense. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
So I really think that the idea was there for that. And then it was like, hey, wait a minute.
Well, and he wrote that because a friend of his passed.
Right.
Yeah, so I could see how maybe this did have some sort of an influence on him. It's a possibility. You know what's really weird about this movie is that in the Philippines, you know what this was called?
Mm-mm.
Oh, let me tell you. It was called Black Moon Rising Part 2.
What?
Yeah, Black Moon Rising was a Tommy Lee Jones movie. And has nothing to do with this. So go Philippines, great marketing. We just gonna lie.
That is so weird.
And I think now that we've watched this movie, I think it's going to be my mission to find this movie on Laserdisc.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That sounds like a challenge.
It really is a challenge. As I've said before, I think I'm going to put a Laserdisc in the trunk of my car. So I can be like, hold on, let me flip this over. We pop this trunk real quick.
This has a Blu-ray release, you know?
I did not know that.
That's weird. You can buy it for $50.
Well, there you go.
It's new and sealed.
Oh, well. I don't think I need to pay $50 for this movie that I could watch free on Tubi.
The Wraith, the new and sealed Laserdisc, Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes, Sherilyn Finn, Randy Quaid.
Oh, this is the Laserdisc? I thought you meant the Blu-ray. It's like, that's expensive for the Wraith.
It's still brand new.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
Or if you could find like a CED copy of it. Ooh.
Well,
the one format that only 12 people know.
That's right.
Well, overall, no problem. I mean, it was cool enough for a rewatch over and over again, and I really did kind of get into it in the way that I was just like really wanting to pay attention to it because, it was the first time I ever saw it. So now I can honestly say I think I've watched it 4 times.
Well, it couldn't have been too terrible then.
No. That's what it was. That's why it got more than a 1-star rating for me.
There you go.
And then to know that like Charlie Sheen filmed all of his scenes in one day.
Right. How crazy, dude.
That's another kind of like, that's pretty fucking nuts, And then Johnny Depp was there, but Johnny Depp's first movie was, whatever you call it, Platoon as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like he was brought on kind of at the last minute for that character that he did, the translator, which that's another weird fucking little thing about this movie is I really think it was a direct, a lot of people saw this movie and a lot of people saw it probably, when it came out on home video. So James O'Barr probably did,
Absolutely. I could totally see, like you said, like whether it was, even if it wasn't intentional, you know what I mean? That in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, And I don't remember the details around his friend's death, only that it was a needless death, you know what I mean? So
right.
That could have actually been something, that was involved that would have had more impact on what, his story was. But totally you could see the lines here,
Because the Wraith did come back, a year after he died?
Yeah.
It was like 1 year after. Yeah. That's pretty nuts,
Yeah. So with that, I mean, that was The Wraith. You guys should check it out. Free on Tubies.
It's got commercials, so, if you like, Ozempic,
Or if you have to get up and pee or something, it's great.
Yeah. If you got to check your prostate real quick.
That's right.
It's cool. It's cool enough. It's cool enough for that. So, all right. Yeah. Reach us on all of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Netflix.
Or the YouTube and the Twitter and all that. Where else?
Dropculture.com.
Yeah.
100%. That's the main place where you need to go check us out. We do have a Patreon, one tier only. And you can get us at www.dropculturepodcast@gmail.com.
I don't think you put a www in front of that. You're just making stuff up now. You're just making it hard for people.
At altavista.net. All right. We'll talk to you next week, guys.
Peace.
Yeah, it's about time we got into somebody's ass, huh, guys? What the shit?